As we all know, a Yandere loves the story where they are loved by the Yandere. That's an accident. I told her that forcing a fruit to ripen won't make it sweet. But she told me that if it's not sweet, it's fine as long as it quenches thirst. Wasn't it supposed to be a tragic story with a female lead? Why is it a crazy Yandere instead? This plot doesn't add up. Half a year ago, I stayed up for 2 days straight. I finally uncovered the African star. When I woke up, I had a memory that didn't belong to me. It crashed into my mind like a flood breaking a dam. I call myself Fong Yuan. I lived in this world for 23 years, but I was told that my life is merely a plot in a big female lead's tragic story. And I am the female lead, Su Baijiu, the white moonlight who loved but couldn't obtain, ultimately destroyed by him. In the original plot, 3 years ago, I rejected his confession, claiming it was for studying abroad. But he never gave up. To cope with the family's business marriage, she found a contract husband, Howren, to act as a shield. This person is my stand-in. For the past 3 years, he has continued to message me every day, sharing daily life and checking in on me. I maintained a polite boundary as ordinary friends. I will return to my home country in 6 months, and the plot will finally reach its true conclusion. After I return, Su Baijiu will be entangled with me, proclaiming to everyone that I am her man. But upon learning that her stand-in husband has little time left, she begins to waver between me and Howren. Her youthful affection for me gradually deteriorates over time and guilt towards Howren. He keeps me hanging while dragging Howren along. In the original plot, I was infuriated by his attitude. I went to confront Howren and harshly mocked him. Howren, already in poor health, was greatly affected and quietly left this city, dying alone in a foreign land. Su Baijiu couldn't find Howren. It wasn't until he received the news that he found Howren's grave, and he went mad. He felt that it was I who hastened Howren's death. I harmed her. In the end, the love in that woman's eyes turned into a bone-chilling hatred. She used the power of the Su family to ruin my family. The one who told me all this was the figure that appeared in my coma dreams. It was an ethereal shadow. He said he was the will of my hometown, Blue Star, from my past life, my child. As a descendant of Blue Star, you must show great power in this other world. You cannot die. I awakened your memories and gave you a little bit of help. As soon as he finished speaking, the memories of my past life completely revived. And at the same time, I felt something wonderful happening to my body. I have filled your charm value to the max. Go ahead. With your strength, the dream of surviving in this world has awakened. In the past 6 months, I have been studying like crazy, complete studies ahead of schedule. While contemplating ways to break the deadlock, the Su family has significant power. Our family is not to be trifled with. If I directly block him after returning to my country, refuse with a firm attitude, with his paranoid personality, absolutely will turn love into hate. Activate the destruction plot in advance. So I can't be the one to tear the facade first. My plan is to go along with him first. Wait for him to act according to the script. When I was wavering between Howren and myself, I jump out again. He accused him sternly and justifiably. When crabs walk on 2 boats, she is a complete and utter heartbreaker. Then I will show extreme disappointment and disgust. Take the initiative to set clear boundaries with her. In this case, I'm the one in the right. I'm also the one who took the initiative to leave. Any person with dignity wouldn't continue to cling to the past. Once Howren is gone, he won't have any reason to hold a grudge against me anymore. Having figured all this out, my feelings that I've suppressed for half a year suddenly became clear. Dragging my suitcase, I boarded the plane back home. The plane landed at Jiang City Airport. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the window, a bit blinding. I took a deep breath, looking at the message on my phone screen. Su Baijiu messaged me a few minutes ago. Hey Yuan, did your flight land? I'm here to pick you up. Just got off the plane. The air in the room carried that familiar humidity. I dragged my suitcase, and my phone started vibrating. The caller ID is my sister. I swiped to answer. Has Xiao Yuan landed? Fong Siyue's capable voice comes through the receiver just after landing. I was planning to pick you up, but I got tied up with an unexpected meeting at work. It's fine, sis. I can just take a taxi back. All right, I'll transfer some money to your account. Don't rush to think about work yet. Just enjoy yourself when you're back home. It's much more interesting in the country now than abroad. Once you've had your fun, sis, I'll arrange a position for you at the company. I smiled. Got it, sis. I'll hang up now. A text message popped up right after. Your account has been credited with 20,000. As expected of my sister. Even pocket money is so generous. She just made me a millionaire. I put away my phone and walked towards the parking lot. I stopped in my tracks after just a few steps. Not far away, a striking figure caught my eye. She stood out distinctly in the crowd, dressed in a well-tailored women's suit. It perfectly accentuated her curves. She exuded an icy aura that kept strangers at bay. Yet, in her arms, she held a large bouquet of tulips, my favorite flowers. Subaijo spotted me as well. Her cold expression melted instantly, her eyes shining like stars. She waved at me. As expected, the drama unfolded as usual. I dragged my suitcase over to her. Just as I was about to greet her, a fragrant breeze enveloped me. Subaijo tossed aside the flowers in her hand and tightly hugged me. Her strength felt like she was trying to merge me into her bones. I became completely stiff. Passers-by all turned to look. Some even took out their phones. The flashlights lit up. I bet tomorrow's headline on CCTV will be "The Mysterious Man at the Airport with the Female CEO of Su Group." Hey, let's get in the car first. I felt a bit awkward. I gently patted his back. Only then did he let go of me. He pulled me along quickly towards a red sports car. The car door closed, cutting off the outside view. Subaijo's eyes instantly turned red. "You finally came back. I missed you so much." His voice trembled with tears, expressing the longing and suffering of the past 3 years. He said he could only sleep by looking at my photos every day. The aloof female CEO from the original story now looked like a little girl who had been wronged. This acting deserves an Oscar. I scoffed inwardly. I can only offer half-hearted comfort. All right, I'm back now, aren't I? He suddenly leaned in, staring into my eyes. "Let's have dinner together tonight. I've made a reservation." My heart skipped a beat. The first step of my plan is here, but tonight won't work. My sister asked me to come home for dinner. Family dinner. I found the perfect excuse. Subaijo's eyes dimmed for a moment, but then they lit up again. "Then how about tomorrow? Is that okay?" "Sure," I nodded, maintaining the boundary of friendship. The car quickly arrived at the entrance of my villa. I got out to grab my luggage. "Then I'll head back first." Subaijo got out of the car too, standing right in front of me. I thought he was going to say something, but then he suddenly took a step forward. He quickly kissed my lips, warm and soft. I was completely frozen. By the time I reacted, he was already blushing, like a startled little rabbit, retreating back into the car. The red sports car roared to life, and in a flash, it was gone. I stood there alone, absent-mindedly touching my lips. It seemed to still hold on to his warmth and fragrance. Isn't this plot a bit off? In the original story, he loved me, but it was more about restraint and control. How come now he's being so proactive, like a lovesick fool? I couldn't be bothered to think. Dragging my luggage, I pushed open that familiar door. A rich aroma of food wafted towards me. My mother was in the kitchen, tying her apron. Hearing the noise, she immediately poked her head out. Seeing me, she broke into a radiant smile. He quickly walked over after wiping his hands on his apron. "I'm back. Are you tired? Go sit on the sofa. What dish do you want to eat? Mom will make it for you." I felt a warmth in my heart. "Mom, you don't have to trouble yourself too much. Let's have sweet and sour ribs and some cola chicken wings." I wasn't polite and ordered several dishes in a row. The mother bird listened happily. "These few are done. Is there anything else?" I shake my head. "Enough is enough. If there is more, it won't be finished." "How can that be? You've lost weight. I'll make you some fish soup to nourish you." He finished speaking without waiting for my response. Turning around, she rushed into the kitchen with great energy. "This is home, the place I must protect at all costs." The dishes quickly filled the table, exuding a rich aroma. But I haven't returned since liberation in April. My mother served me a bowl of soup. "You eat it first. Don't wait for her to be busy with company affairs all day long." As soon as the words fell, the sound of high heels clicking against the floor echoed through the door. My sister, Fong Siue, pushed the door and walked in. She took off her trench coat, revealing a neat business outfit. Her gaze swept over and paused on me for a few seconds. Then she walked straight to behind me. Before I could react, an arm reached over from behind me. It directly wrapped around my head. My face was suddenly engulfed in astonishing softness and fragrance. Almost suffocating, the brat finally decided to come back. She ruffled my hair. Her tone carried a hint of threat. "If you stay abroad any longer without coming back, do you believe I'll freeze your card and make you do menial work at the company for life?" The family dinner began in this harmonious atmosphere. At the dinner table, my mother and sister kept serving me food. They asked if I was doing well abroad and if anyone bullied me. I could only pick some interesting stories to half-heartedly brush it off. I can't just tell them I'm being targeted by a Yandere CEO. This home is always at risk of being destroyed by her. After dinner, I plan to go back to my room and rest. I hear the voice of Xiangyue coming from behind me. I stop in my tracks. She's leaning against the door frame of the living room, arms crossed. She has changed into a silk robe. It has less of a magical aura and more of a lazy vibe. "You're not a kid anymore. After so many years abroad, have you found someone you really like?" Here comes the classic marriage pressure segment. My heart skips a beat, but my face remains expressionless. "Sis, I'm not considering that right now." Yet a glint of mischief flashes in my sister's eyes. I've heard about the eldest daughter of the Su family, but she has never forgotten about you. I feel a tightness in my chest. I really can't avoid Su Baijo after all. No, definitely not. If I were to find someone, I'd definitely report it to you first. My sister seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, but the teasing glint in her eyes only grew stronger. Oh, really? There's nothing. But how come I saw the surveillance footage at the villa entrance? This afternoon, you were all over Su Baijo, weren't you? My scalp instantly felt like it was going to explode. How did I forget about the surveillance? That was her kissing me. I didn't have time to dodge. I hurriedly denied it 3 times. I have nothing to do with her. I never even considered agreeing to her. My sister's face suddenly got closer. It seemed to magnify in front of me. Her breath was hot against my face. She stared into my eyes and asked me word by word, "Is it true?" I felt a bit uneasy under his gaze, but I still held my head high, wearing a serious and sincere expression. "I swear it's absolutely true." She looked at me for several seconds before straightening up, a meaningful smile appearing on her face. "All right, I'll temporarily believe you." I made a hasty retreat under my sister's knowing smile. The next evening came quickly. I had to go meet Su Baijo. She arrived right on time in that familiar red sports car, pulling up in front of my villa. We first went to the cinema, and what I didn't expect was, the huge screening room had only the 2 of us. I had booked it out. Su Baijo handed me a bucket of popcorn, with a hint of pride on her face. That way, no one would interrupt us. The movie was a romantic film, with a cliched plot that made me drowsy. In the dim light, I can feel. Su Baijo beside me is always looking at me, instead of the screen. Suddenly, a soft and cool hand reached out and carefully covered my hand. Then our fingers intertwined. My body stiffened for a moment, but I didn't pull away. In the darkness, I could see the curve of his smiling lips. As soon as the movie ended, Su Baijo pulled me to the most upscale mall in Zhang's. "You just returned to the country. You must need to buy some new clothes." She naturally dragged me into a men's clothing store. And that's when things started to feel off. Not only was she picking for me, but she was also picking for herself. "This shirt looks good. Let's get one each." This set of pajamas is a couple's style. The fabric is really comfortable. And this water bottle, look, we can engrave the initials of our names on it. From clothes to pajamas, from slippers to water bottles. It was like she wanted to replace everything with couples items. I wish I could slap all of Su Baijo's labels on myself. I looked at the waiters with their ambiguous glances. It made my scalp tingle. This way of claiming ownership is both domineering and direct. It gave me the illusion of being a marked prey. After a wild shopping spree at the mall, it was time for dinner. Su Baijo took me to a Western restaurant he had booked in advance. Soothing piano music and flickering candlelight set the perfect atmosphere for you. The air was filled with a subtle hint of flirtation. While waiting for our food, my phone on the table suddenly vibrated and lit up. The screen showed 2 characters, Lin Wan. Su Baijo glanced at the phone screen. He said nothing, only lifted his glass and took a sip. I instinctively thought about hanging up, thinking it was nothing. He put down his glass. In a calm tone, he said, I had no choice but to swipe to answer. A clear and enthusiastic female voice came from the other end of the phone. Fong Yuan, have you returned to the country? Yeah. Do you have time to get together? I'll treat you to a meal. Just consider it as a welcome dinner for you. I glanced at Su Baijo opposite me. He was elegantly cutting the bread before the meal, seemingly indifferent to our conversation. Sure, but I'm quite busy lately. Let me find a time later. It's a deal then. Lin Wan's tone was very intimate. You must find a time to contact me, okay? By the way, is there anything special you want to eat? Nothing in particular. As long as it's food, I'm fine with it. I'm tired of foreign cuisine. All right, then you focus on your work. Remember to definitely get in touch with me. Our relationship definitely needs a gathering for a meal. It's best not to wait too long. I'm afraid I don't have time to say goodbye properly. After hanging up the phone, I placed the screen of my phone face down on the table. Subai was still leisurely eating bread. A faint smile lingered on her face, as if hearing nothing at all, but in the areas that my peripheral vision can't see. The hand he had placed under the table had quietly clenched at some point without him realizing it. The knuckles turned slightly pale due to the exertion. The tender juices of the steak burst forth onto the plate when cut. I took a small bite, but it tasted like chewing wax. Lin Wan's phone call was like a stone thrown into calm waters. A stone was thrown into the surface of the lake. Although Su Baijo had a smile on his face, but the air in the restaurant has noticeably cooled down a bit. Can't wait any longer. It's time to steer the plot in the direction I need. I put down the knife and fork. He picked up the napkin and pretended to calmly wipe the corner of his mouth. Baijo raised his eyes. The candlelight flickers in her pupils. Inside, there's nothing but my reflection. When do you plan to divorce your contract husband, Harren? I asked casually. as if I were just asking her about the weather tomorrow. Subaijo paused for half a second while cutting the steak. Then she smiled. That smile was bright, yet dangerous. Anytime is fine. His response was so quick it took me by surprise. He put down his knife and fork, leaning slightly forward, his beautiful eyes locking onto mine as he said, "I'm divorced. Would you marry me?" Boom. I felt like my brain had been struck by lightning. What happened to the confusion? What happened to wavering between me and the substitute? Why jump straight to the nuclear option and propose? I opened my mouth. My throat felt like it was stuffed with cotton. I can't say a word. Why does her smile seem even wider now, with a hint of playful reluctance to end it? This is truly the end. The plan had just started to take shape, only to be shut down by his words. I picked up the glass of red wine on the table. Tilting my head back, I took a big gulp, trying to numb my soon-to-crash brain with alcohol. I mumbled those 3 words. My voice was so soft that I could barely hear it myself. "After all these years, you have always been so good to me. I know your feelings." I forced myself to recite those lines that I had rehearsed countless times in my mind. I awkwardly delivered them. "I rejected you before because I was immature. Now I think we can be together." After saying this, I feel like I'm turning to stone. I stared at him intently. My heart was racing with desperate prayers. Please say you need time to think. Quick, say you still have responsibilities towards Howard. But reality once again slapped me hard in the face. Subaijo's answer was straightforward and decisive. His voice even carried a hint of uncontainable excitement. "Then let's be together." He smiled like a cat that finally caught a mouse. Proud and satisfied. "Tomorrow I'll go back and file for divorce with him. Feng Yuan, you better not run away. If you dare to be irresponsible, I'll lock you up." He said that last line with a smile. His tone was as gentle as if he were being playful, but I felt a chill run down my back. I was completely stunned, totally at a loss. What kind of out-of-control crazy plot is this? "Wait for me." I almost jumped out of my chair in a panic. My voice even changed pitch. "There's no need to rush like that. After all, we haven't seen each other in so many years. It's better to take some time to adjust again." I watched as a smile more awkward than a cry squeezed out of her face. The smile on Subaijo's face faded a little. She just stared at me like that. I felt my heart race. Cold sweat was about to break out. Just when I thought he was about to explode, he suddenly smiled again. "Well," she actually agreed. "All right, if that's what you want." I instantly felt relieved. I felt like I had just danced on the edge of the abyss, and then got kicked back. Something's not right. My mind raced, desperately searching for the reason the plot went off track. Something must have gone wrong, right? In the original story, the reason he was struggling was, it's because he already knows about Howard's serious illness, that he's feeling guilty. Does he not know about it now? Of course, it must be that way. As long as he finds out about this, that damn martyr complex of his will kick in, and the plot can be forced back on track. I feel like a drowning person grabbing onto the last piece of driftwood. That porridge. I cleared my throat and casually opened my mouth. I seem to have heard some news recently that Howard seems to be seriously ill. I carefully observed her expression and set off the bomb I prepared. "I heard he might not have much time left. You should go back and care about him more. After all, you're still technically married. It's only right to give him a little more money." After saying that, my heart rose to my throat. Guilt, confusion. Come on, follow the script and perform. I thought I would drop the bombshell news that Howard is seriously ill. Subaijo does not feel guilty. At least it will be quiet for a few days. As a result, I seriously underestimated the actions of a lunatic. He not only hasn't stopped, instead, it intensified the offensive. In the days that followed, I became his exclusive charm. As soon as he has free time, he will drive that red sports car. Appeared at my doorstep. "Xiao Yuan, let's go for a walk." Then I was forcefully taken by him to start the so-called nostalgic journey. She took me to the fried chicken shop that we loved the most in middle school. The store has been renovated. The boss has also changed, but the taste doesn't seem to have changed much. He took me to the bookstore where we often hung out during high school. He pointed to an old sofa in the corner. "You used to read books here." I fell asleep while watching. My heart skipped a beat. He remembers all of this. He even took me to the restaurant we used to frequent in college. The owner recognized us. She cheerfully joked that the young couple was finally back together. Subaijo smiled with his eyes crinkled, not explaining anything. I could only awkwardly laugh on the side. We even returned to the university campus. Strolling along the tree-lined path, she was like a happy little bird, chirping away and telling me stories from our time in school. "Do you remember that time you sprained your ankle playing basketball? I was the one who helped you back to the dorm. And that time you skipped class and got caught by the professor? I was the one who helped you write that 8,000-word reflection." He laughed as he spoke. The sunlight fell on her face, making her look unbelievably beautiful. I felt like a frog being boiled in lukewarm water. I was completely uncomfortable. That day, he called me out again. There's a company dinner tonight. You need to accompany me. I originally wanted to refuse, but his next sentence cut me off. I'm already at your doorstep. At the dinner, the atmosphere was filled with elegance and socializing. Subaijo brought me in front of a group of middle-aged men in suits. These are some of our company's shareholders. Then he took a box out of his bag, handing it to me as a gift for you. When I opened it, I found a sports car key. Looking at the key with the horse emblem, I felt like I was holding a grenade. Before I could react, Subaijo raised the champagne glass in his hand, gently tapping it. The crisp sound brought silence to the entire banquet hall. All eyes are on us. She linked her arm with mine, wearing an impeccable smile. Her voice rang clearly throughout the venue. Let me officially introduce everyone. This is my beloved Fong Yuan. There was a moment of stunned silence in the room. Then the group of shareholders and executives, as if receiving some signal, rushed over. Oh, President Su and young Master Fong are truly a match made in heaven. A Mediterranean man laughed, his face full of wrinkles, desperately pouring drinks for me. Talented and beautiful, a perfect match. I've long seen that young Master Fong is no ordinary person. Another portly executive eyed me and the car keys, sizing us up. President Su's taste is indeed sharp. We old-timers admire that. I was surrounded by a crowd, wearing a stiff smile. I felt like a monkey on display. This isn't just social death, it's public execution. And it gets even crazier from here. He actually took me to meet his parents. The two elders sat on the sofa, examining me from head to toe with scrutinizing eyes. Then, they revealed extremely satisfied smiles. His father patted me on the shoulder, saying, "Not bad, young man." He said, "We'll leave our son in your hands." His mother held my hand, laughing uncontrollably. From now on, we're family. I felt like a puppet on strings, allowing them to manipulate me. After leaving his house, I sat in the car, my mind completely blank. I felt like I was trapped in an invisible net, unable to move. Subaijo showed no hesitation at all despite his serious illness. He's trying to weld me completely to his side, boiling a frog in warm water. Now the water is boiling. I have to figure out a way to jump out before I get fully cooked. I can't endure this boiling frog lifestyle for even a day. From that private restaurant we used to frequent in college. After dinner, the night has already enveloped the entire city. Subai was in a good mood, still savoring the teasing remarks from the landlady about being a couple. But my heart is becoming heavier. Long nights bring many dreams. I need to end this soon. If this drags on, I'm really afraid I'll be completely trapped by his web. I can no longer use confession as a test. What if it's like last time? Without a second thought, she agrees right away. Then there will be no turning back. This time, I plan to be straightforward. I stop in my tracks and look at him. Baiju, he turns around. His eyes sparkle under the streetlights. They are full of expectation. I take a deep breath. I said the words that had been prepared long ago. The kindness you showed me in the past and the kindness you have shown me during this time. I already know everything. I understand your intentions. I paused and watched her smile gradually bloom, then personally extinguish her. I'm sorry to keep you waiting for so long, but I still feel uneasy. After all, you have already obtained a marriage certificate, so let's just call it off between us. The air seemed to freeze in that moment. The smile on Subaijo's face faded inch by inch, eventually turned into a cold blackness. You refuse me, yet want to avoid responsibility. Her voice is both cold and sharp, pierced into my ears like an ice pick. It's because of Howren that I got married. We are in a fake marriage. We haven't even gotten our marriage certificate. I said there's nothing between us. We don't even live together. Her emotions were a bit out of control. Her voice carried a mix of grievance and anger. I forced myself not to look at the hurt in his eyes. I hardened my heart and said, even if that's the case, what you said might be true, but it still made me uncomfortable inside. That sentence hit me like a bucket of ice water. It completely extinguished the last spark of hope in his eyes. Subaijo's expression darkened. It was a stillness before a storm. He stared at me intensely for a full half-minute. Then he suddenly spoke. His voice was eerily calm. Come with me, I won't go. I instinctively took a step back. Where are you taking me? She laughed. There wasn't a trace of warmth in that smile. Her face even showed hints of a sickly quality. You know, I would do anything for you. She stepped closer to me. The sound of high heels clicking against the floor felt like they were stepping on my heart. Fong Yuan, don't let me risk my family's well-being. Bring down your family's business. My pupils suddenly constricted. You wouldn't want to see your family displaced either. Burdened with debts, right? She leaned in close to my ear. Her voice was as light as a whisper, yet her words were as venomous as a snake's. In the end, you'll have to come begging for my shelter. I felt cold all over. A chill shot up from my feet straight to my crown. He was a complete lunatic. The one from the original story, who wavered between me and my substitute. Torn by a facade that was fundamentally a disguise. This is her true face. A comrade so obsessively twisted it's pathological. I stared at the wild yet serious expression on his face. I was scared. I have no doubt that if I really dared to turn around and walk away today, she could make my parents' company disappear from Zhang's in no time. I can't gamble with my family's future. Just come with me. Seeing my pale face, her tone softened again, even carrying a hint of tenderness. I won't do anything to you. I looked at his outstretched hand, stiff for a long time, but ultimately gave in. I got into the car with him, my heart feeling icy. Not long after, the car stopped at the familiar villa beside his. But he didn't take me into his own home. Instead, heading towards another villa next to it. He raised his hand not to ring the doorbell, but banged on the door with his fist, knocking loudly. The dull knocking on the door pierced the silence of the night. It sounded particularly jarring. The heavy sound echoed in the quiet night, like a bell tolling for my doom. The one who opened the door was a man, Hao-ran. Her face was slightly pale, lips devoid of color, looking like someone who had been sick for a long time. Su Baizhou, however, didn't even glance at him. His eyes were fixed on me intensely. He pointed at Hao-ran and spoke to me word by word. I told you we don't live together. I've never liked her. I was just waiting for you to finish your sentence. Before I could react, he suddenly reached out his hands, gripping the back of my head like a vice. I couldn't break free at all. In the next moment, her lips came crashing down on mine. This was not a kiss at all. This is a declaration, a mark, an undeniable comrade in arms. In front of her nominal husband, my mind went blank, completely frozen for a long time. Su Baizhou's chest rose and fell slightly. He finally allowed himself to share a glance with Hao-ran, a hint of apology in his eyes. I had a small misunderstanding with him. I must prove to him that we have never lived together. I have always been waiting for him. I stiffly turned to look at Hao-ran. I thought I would see anger or sadness. At the very least, it should be numbness. But his face showed only an awkward unease. He even slightly bowed to both of us. It's my fault for being in the way of you two. This is still my mistake. I feel like my worldview is being repeatedly crushed by a steamroller. What kind of absurdity is this? This is just ridiculous. This plot is simply outrageous. I pulled Hao-ran into a small, empty room nearby. What's going on? I asked Hao-ran, trying to suppress my anger. He was startled by my action, looking innocent. Mr. Fong, you and President Su are truly a match made in heaven. I'm just someone who gets paid to do a job. What do you mean? I signed a contract with President Su. The marriage certificate is fake. We've never lived together. He bought me this villa and gave me a large sum of money. I just need to hold this identity and help him shut up those old geezers in the boardroom. My head was buzzing. So what about your illness? President Su is really a nice person. A hint of gratitude appeared on Hao-ran's face. The head of the orphanage where I grew up. It was President Su who paid for my mother's surgery when she was seriously ill. He has saved my life. I was completely dumbfounded. The one who accompanied for 5 years in the original story. The lovesick substitute that made Su Baizhou feel guilty. Turns out to be just a tool working for money. And a good employee who knows how to repay kindness. Just as my worldview was collapsing, Hao-ran suddenly brightened up, looking at me with deep gratitude. By the way, Mr. Fong, I really need to thank you properly. I pointed at my own nose, completely confused, like, yeah? He excitedly rubbed his hands together. If you hadn't told President Su that I was seriously ill and didn't have much time left, he wouldn't have so readily settled the contract for payment, and even gave me a large sum of money on top of that, so that after I leave, I can leave more money for the orphanage. My director mom won't have to work so hard anymore. He looked at me with sincerity, as if seeing a real father. I felt the world spinning around me. The plot didn't just deviate. It exploded right on the spot. I felt like a red ball had grown on my nose. I can't stay here any longer. I pushed him away and ran to my car, driving home. I need some quiet time. I don't even know how I drove the car back home. I pressed the accelerator to the floor. The neon lights outside stretched into blurry streaks of light. My head was buzzing with noise. Hao-ran's grateful face, Su Baizhou's possessive, wild kiss, and the fierce yet gentle threats he whispered in my ear. Scenes replayed like a heavy hammer, shattering my self-righteous plans to pieces. Everything about being a substitute, guilt, and indecision was all a lie. Back at home, I threw myself on the sofa. I felt like all my strength had been drained away. The villa was very quiet. My sister and mom must be asleep. This moment of silence only made me more anxious. Buzzing, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I sat up straight, as if I had been electrocuted. The screen shows a message from Su Baizhou. Where have you been? These 4 short words feel like a cold hand, gripping my throat. I stared at the text for a long time. My fingers trembled as I typed a few words. Just got home. Sent. Then I began my misguided strategy of giving him the cold shoulder. For the next 2 days, I locked myself in the house, not stepping outside. Su Baijiu's messages and calls came pouring in like snowflakes. Xiao Yuan, are you still angry? I really have nothing going on with Howren. I swear, just come out and meet me, okay? Let's talk. If you don't reply, I'm coming to find you at your house. I watched those messages, my heart racing painfully. I was too scared not to reply, afraid that he might actually show up at my door. I could only reply after a long time with something vague like, sorry, I was busy. I thought this would help him calm down. I thought it would make him back off. I thought I was creating distance. Little did I know, it was just tightening her grip on that invisible rope in her hand. By the third night, I felt like I was going insane. 2 days and nights of tension and fear had nearly frayed my nerves. My stomach was growling, so I decided to go out and buy some late-night snacks. I reassured myself that it was so late, he probably wouldn't still be out there waiting for me. I changed into inconspicuous clothes, put on a hat and mask, and sneaked out of the door. The night breeze was cool against my face, clearing my chaotic mind a little. I chose a quiet little path, heading towards the 24-hour convenience store at the corner. The streetlights stretched my shadow long and short. The surroundings were eerily quiet, only the sound of my footsteps and the rustling of leaves in the wind. Just as I was about to reach the brightly lit entrance of the convenience store, I let my guard down. A shadow behind me silently crept up from the alley's darkness. Before I could turn around, a hand suddenly reached out from behind, tightly covering my mouth. The other arm wrapped around my waist like an iron hoop, dragging me backwards. My pupils dilated as I struggled violently. A pungent smell with a hint of sweetness came from the blue and white stripes covering my mouth. I desperately held my breath, kicking and flailing, but the smell was still overwhelming. It invaded my nostrils. Everything spun, and my consciousness sank into darkness. In that moment, I only had one thought. It's over. I've completely pissed him off. The moment of awakening for the hunt. My awareness struggled out of a thick darkness. That sweet, greasy smell still lingered in my nostrils, but it was quickly replaced by another, more familiar, with a faint, fragrant scent. It was the smell of Su Baijiu. I suddenly opened my eyes. The first thing that came into view was a luxurious crystal chandelier. I moved slightly and realized that my wrists and ankles were bound by the constraint of fabric. My hands and feet were securely tied with soft cloth strips. The other ends of the cloth strips were fixed to the headboard and footboard of the bed. My entire body was laid out in a T-shape. On this soft king-size bed, I looked around. My heart sank little by little. The layout of this room and the familiar decor style. I have been here before. This is Su Baijiu's bedroom. As I was trying to make sense of the situation, with a click, the door was gently pushed open. Su Baijiu was wearing a silk robe. Barefoot, she walked towards me step by step. Her long hair fell casually over her shoulders. Her face was devoid of the exquisite makeup from the day, but there was a kind of breathtaking aggression. In her beautiful eyes, there was no anger, only the excitement of a hunter seeing its prey caught in a trap, and a sense of inevitability. She walked to the bedside, looking down at me from above. It's like admiring a trophy that is about to belong to him. Little Yuan is really not being honest. His voice was soft, laced with a hint of reproach, yet it made all the hairs on my body stand on end. How long have you drained my youth away? And you want to run away? As he spoke, he leaned down, his hands pressed on either side of my head. The silky robe fell down. The cold fabric brushed against my skin. A pleasant scent enveloped me, but all I felt was a suffocating pressure. I panicked and my voice trembled as I spoke. A forced fruit isn't sweet. She smiled, the corners of her mouth curling into a sickly arc. Yet her gaze was as cold as ice. As long as it's not sweet, it's fine, just don't take action. The fruit is about to run away. As he said this, he was about to press down. Just then, a sudden and urgent ringtone interrupted. It shattered the eerie atmosphere in the room. It was my phone on the bedside table. The screen lit up, displaying the caller ID, Lin Wan. Su Baijiu's movements paused. He turned his head to glance at the phone screen. His beautifully shaped brows furrowed slightly. She reached out her hand and decisively pressed the hang-up button. The room fell silent again. But within 2 seconds, the ringtone stubbornly rang again. It was still Lin Wan, and Su Baijiu's patience seemed to be wearing thin. He grabbed the phone and swiped to answer. I didn't even catch what Lin Wan said on the other end. Su Baijiu was already speaking into the receiver, using an extremely impatient, queen-like tone. I'm in the middle of a major life event right now, so you'd better not disturb my mood. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Then he long pressed the power button, turning the screen into a pitch-black world. Finally, it was completely quiet. He casually threw his phone onto the carpet. Turning his head, he fixed his gaze back on me. In those eyes burned a flame I couldn't understand. All right, now no one is here to disturb us. I lost track of time and woke up from a haze. Morning had arrived, the sunlight streaming through the massive floor-to-ceiling windows. It cast bright spots of light on the expensive carpet. I moved my wrists and ankles, and the uncomfortable sense of restraint was gone. In its place was a tingling soreness in my waist, as if I had been taken apart and reassembled. The air still held that familiar spicy scent from him. I propped my nearly broken body up to sit. The silky blanket slid off me, and then I saw a dozen strawberry remnants on the bed, and a flash of glaring red, like a plum blossom suddenly blooming in the snow. Is this how you treat your buddies, like toys? I froze completely. My mind was blank. The sound of Kanji being prepared came from beside me. He was sitting on the single sofa by the bed, wearing that silk robe, his legs crossed, holding a cup of red tea. He was looking at me with elegance, a hint of lazy satisfaction on his face, like a predator that has just had a hearty meal. His gaze was filled with a confident sense of control. I looked at him, and then at the plum blossom. My throat felt dry, and I couldn't say a word. He set down the teacup and walked barefoot to the edge of the bed. Leaning down, his cold fingers gently brushed my face. "All right, now you are completely mine." Her voice was soft, yet it felt like chains binding me, tying me up tightly, and there was no escape. I felt cold all over, my lips trembling. But all I could produce were meaningless sounds. She seemed quite pleased with my state. A smile tugged at the corners of her lips. "If you don't take responsibility, I'll make a scene at your house. Tell me how you treated me last night. Tell uncle and aunt. You can tell my parents, or I can. Make the Fong family's company completely disappear from Zhang's." She leaned close to my ear, her warm breath grazing my earlobe, but her words were chillingly cold. "Where else can you go besides begging me?" I closed my eyes, feeling all my strength drain away. He stood up straight, his tone returning. That undeniable calmness. "Your clothes are in the wardrobe. I had someone buy them new. It's the weekend. The Civil Affairs Bureau is closed, so we can't process anything." He paused as if announcing an established fact. "We'll go get our marriage certificate first thing Monday. Don't think about playing tricks. You know the consequences." I don't know how I got dressed, how I walked out of that bedroom, or how I left that villa. The sunlight on my body brings no warmth at all. Around me, the streets are bustling with traffic and voices, but those sounds feel very distant to me, as if separated by a thick layer of glass. I return home and throw myself onto the bed. I cover my head with the blanket. My mind is a chaotic mess. How did the plot diverge to this point? What happened to the tragic female lead? What happened to the indecisiveness between me and the substitute? How did it turn into a sickly sweet, manipulative character? As a transmigrator who knows the plot inside out, I should have been the one controlling the whole game. But now I've become just a piece on his chessboard, a chess piece that's completely locked down. It's over. I've been entirely trapped by him. The end.